Hi, I'm Mike from Michael's Motor Cars, located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I'm very pleased to bring you along for a test drive of a car I really like. This car is a 1971 MGB. I used to work on these cars. I had a European garage, and there's a big distinction between the earlier original Bs with the twin carb setup, and then later. As we all know, they became the rubber bumpers, single carbs. So this car, being a 71, is closer to the earlier cars. It's really fun to drive. The power that it has is very different than the newer, later cars. It's very responsive. It just is a great car to drive. This car itself was interesting, and we purchased it because the family we bought the car from bought it in 1972 as a one-year-old car and owned it the whole time. It came out of Pennsylvania, Temple, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour from us. So let's go for a drive. On the gauges, the fuel gauge is working, the tachometer is working. The one thing I noticed, occasionally the tach goes down, then it comes back to life. It's getting better. I think with use that'll improve. That's a fairly typical situation with the Bs. Oil pressure's great. The car's fully warm right now. At idle, we're right in the middle, and the gauge is working properly. The speedometer's working correctly. We're showing 94,000 miles, which is correct. Since we bought it from the family that owned it since being 1 year old, we know it's correct, accurate mileage. And then the temperature gauge is working properly. The car runs nice and cool, which is typical for a B. Trying to squeeze a drive in here before it starts to rain. It's just getting ready, but I think we can do it in time. As I mentioned earlier, the earlier Bs with the twin SUs are just really fun to drive. Very responsive. Car shifts well, transmission is nice. It's a non-overdrive car, regular 4-speed. Has fairly new tires on it. The wheels were repainted recently, not by us, before we got the car. Relatively new top, and we'll show pictures of all of this. Wipers are working, all three of them, lined up like little soldiers. The car tracks well, the suspension feels nice. We did put some exhaust work on the car, a new rear muffler. It's very solid feeling. Downshifts nicely without the need to double clutch. And I'll go into second without double clutching. Goes right in. Tach is sleeping again. So the tachometer is the one thing that is intermittent. Now it's back again. Probably needs to be cleaned because when it goes down to idle, it tends to drop off. Goes into first nice and smoothly, because this one, of course, has synchromesh, all 4 gears. The early cars just rev so nicely. The car does have its original motor. So if you're considering an earlier B, twin carb car, the peppy ones, please consider this car. Great pedigree, one owner since the car was 1 year old. Nice solid car. And take the time please and look at our showroom video. I'll go into more detail about the aesthetics of the car. But it sure drives great. Fun little B. Thanks for coming along for the ride.